So what do Chinese mermaids look like? So before you hit Google to check what a Chinese or Asian mermaid looks like, let me tell you my story on how I found out what an Asian mermaid looks like. So when I first started at a Chinese school, I was teaching kindergartners. So there was one day when we had a little bit of time before the kids got ready to go home, and I decided to play The Little Mermaid for them. I played a song called Under the Sea. I'm sure you all know it. And when I played Under the Sea, immediately when the mermaid appears, or Ariel appears on the video, one of the teachers came running and she switched the screen off, the computer screen off, and she was very upset with me, and she just kept on saying, no, 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 bad, bad. And I couldn't understand why it was such a big deal. So she was telling me that it's not appropriate for the kids to watch, and I really couldn't understand. I thought maybe it had something to do with the screen time. Maybe the kids weren't allowed to have screen time. Maybe that was the issue, but that wasn't the issue. She told me that the mermaid was inappropriately dressed, and I couldn't understand what she meant by the mermaid was inappropriately dressed. Because in my mind, the only mermaids I've ever seen looked like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. So I couldn't picture how else a mermaid would look. And they then pulled out a puppet in the classroom of a mermaid, and to my astonishment, this mermaid had clothes on. So in my mind, I was thinking, how would this even work? Her clothes would get wet and she'd be, swimming in the sea, and who would wash the clothes, and then she'd have to put it on. So it didn't make any sense to me. But then it made me think that night. I apologized, obviously, because I didn't know that I had offended the teachers, and I had exposed the kids to something that they were not used to. In China, if I can just give you a little bit of background, in China, it is frowned upon for women to show their shoulders. You should be covered. They don't approve of like strappy tops and things like that. Your shoulders should be covered. It's a Western thing for your shoulders to be out. So this mermaid's shoulders was out, her stomach was out. She was basically just wearing a bra, on the Little Mermaid, whereas the Asian mermaids were covered. So this is what Asian mermaid looks like. Before you go to Google, you can go and Google it. Most countries, Japan, everybody has a different version of a mermaid, but the Asian countries, their mermaids have clothes on. So they've got like a kimono type of jacket on that covers their shoulders, because it is more respectable. So that's why it's important to learn things about people's culture before you do things, because little things can offend. Something that in your country is pretty normal, but in a country like China, it could offend someone. Luckily, she stopped me in that moment, and it was a teaching lesson for me so that I don't make that mistake again. What if I did that in front of the parents? It could have been like a disastrous situation. If the principal came in, or one of the parents, they would have felt that I am teaching their kids about inappropriate stuff, not respecting their culture. And mind you, I was still under probation at the time, so I could have been fired if the teacher found it offensive enough. So luckily the teacher, switched it off and explained to me why it was inappropriate. These are the little things that you should watch out for when living in another country. You need to educate yourself about what is normal and what is not normal, because our cultures are actually very different. So many things that could have happened, and so many ways that this could have been seen in. So I hope you learned something new, like I learned on that day in 2019 when I learned what a Chinese or Asian mermaid looks like.